And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of Outdoor Journal Radio.
Well, hello there. Thank you for joining us once again, Outdoor Journal Radio, the podcast. I'm Angelo Bell. He is Peter Bowman.
Howdy.
The rest of the cast, you know of Nick. Oh, Nick. Wow. I'm used to seeing an empty chair there.
They always hear about Nick. They don't know.
Come on now.
And Dean. I'm a little poopy today.
Poopy?
Yeah, I'm dragging today. I got in at 3.
Don't have enough holidays? You didn't have enough of a holiday?
Holidays. Man, you guys with the holidays. Good God almighty. I had just a horrific day yesterday. We'll talk about it in a moment. I
want to hear about this.
I attempted to fly back from Orlando and got in, and I was supposed to be home by 9:30 yesterday
Last
morning.
night? Oh, morning.
No, yesterday morning.
Okay.
9:30. I had plans.
Ready for your full day? Yeah, exactly.
I arrived to my bed this morning I got in bed at 3:45. I got home at 3 this morning.
My.
And you guys are no strangers, both Dean, you, and Nick. Last year we were in Orlando, ironically Orlando again. And didn't we have something similar to that?
Yeah, we were 8 hours at least.
8 hours.
Yeah.
Well, I was 16 yesterday.
Oh, my God.
So there you go.
16 hours.
And I want to talk about that, but first let me just, because I don't understand how this happens today. 2024, the year is 2024. I don't get it. I don't. But
Okay, I got to hear this. I can't wait to hear this. So let's do
all
our
right,
due diligence here. And,
first of all,
move on.
hopefully you're all enjoying the new season of the Fishing Canada show on Global Television Network and on Sportsman's Channel and on WFN and everywhere else that you consume the Fishing Canada show. Hoping that you are enjoying the new episodes as much as we are. I can tell you. They are beauties.
Finally, I saw a comment from a dude from Edmonton. Finally, new episodes.
Yeah.
He was happy just to see new stuff, but didn't say how good they were. He just said finally new episodes. So
Well, hopefully
he likes them.
we did our best. We always do our best.
We
That's
always
all
do
I
our
can
best, folks. Sometimes it's maybe not the prettiest, but it's pretty. You know?
Fishing Canada, the store, the winter sale is on. I know that a lot of our winter goods aren't even up yet, but we will attempt to have all of our winter goods and we're going to put them directly on sale. Like we're not even going to go and collect our $200 for going past
Pass and go?
Yeah. We're just going to go directly from the box to the sale.
You're getting a lot of
Our people
over there.
Our people are so busy. Our people are so busy that they can't put the stuff up. So we're going to probably have all of our winter goods.
I see where you're going. Okay.
We'll have all of our winter goods up hopefully by spring, and they will go directly on sale. I'm predicting that.
Can you give me a little teaser as to what's cool in the winter world?
We got all kinds of wonderful toques. We got all kinds of wonderful outerwear, layered wear. We got all kinds of bags. We got there's such wonderful winter goods in coming up. But like I say, we'll probably have them up in the spring, and they'll for that benefit to you because you'll be able to buy them on sale right from the get-go.
Angelo's going to need the money. He says, "That's it. I got to sell them below cost. Let's get this stuff out of here."
Exactly. So it's a win-win for everybody except me. That's it. Listener feedback, Mr. Bowman.
Listener feedback from Damien Dunford, at Damien Dunford, via YouTube. Is in response to our discussion on Zone 10 regulations. So we talked about those changes not that long, about 1 or 2 podcasts ago, Dean?
2 shows ago now, I think.
2 shows ago, yeah. He says, i.e., it is now illegal to take pictures of big walleye since no fish over 18 inches could be legally kept. Yeah. Is what his first point was.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose he's right, technically.
But first off, it's not illegal to take pictures.
Exactly.
That's the mistake that people are making, folks. But in order to take a picture, you need to delay the release. It's illegal to delay the release of any fish, in this case, over 18 inches. In any case of,
But it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. What you're saying is true, but and what Damien is saying is true.
Yeah.
Based on the current laws, if they haven't changed since we last looked at them.
They have not, as far as we know.
So it is illegal to take the fish out of its environment for a longer period of time than is required.
Correct.
And
Correct.
requirement in this case would be taking a picture. Is it required for you to take a picture
Right.
of that fish?
Exactly.
I mean, I see you posting these big fish all over the place. Is it important that you do that?
Depends. If it's got
Well, no, that's what he's saying.
A sponsored product in there somewhere, maybe something like
money,
that might
money,
help us.
Money helps you.
Might help us.
Money.
Us.
Okay. All right.
Us. All right. Us. Did this be straight? Now, let me very quickly go into this. There's nothing stopping you from taking a picture of your buddy pulling that fish in, doing his little stuff, and releasing his fish. You can get some good snaps doing that in their action shots. That's not illegal at all. Right? Because you're not delaying the release. He's not delaying the release. You're just taking pictures of your buddy catching and releasing a fish. That's what you need to do.
But they would all have to be like professionals and lightning fast, like our very own Vova.
Oh, no. Volva's an exception to the rule.
Who is continually capturing those special moments because
he's an exception.
He's ahead of the fish.
Have you seen the phones nowadays? These things are ridiculous. The phone, that's what everybody's using. There's hardly ever a DSLR in the boat anymore. These guys are using phone, guys and girls using phones, and literally you push that button, it's like, oh my God. And there's some pretty good pictures coming out of that stuff. You can do it.
So you can do it.
You can do it.
All right.
So, anyways, and Damien goes on to say, I want to start by saying I absolutely love you guys in the show. I even watched you boys on TV way back in the day every weekend, Angela. we always love hearing that. But I have to play devil's advocate on the accidental illegal catch topic. We as anglers are out there for the most part for one reason, and that's to catch the biggest fish of the species we are all out for. So when you catch a monster fish purposefully or accidentally, you want to be able to relive the memories again later in time with a simple picture. Catch and release has come so far in the last decade, as well as technology for taking photos. That's what we just said. We had all that stuff. And if you guys are on the side of agreeing you shouldn't be taking pictures, I don't think we said that. Did we ever say that?
I think we said it's technically against the law.
We said
right.
Never
We
said
didn't say we were in agreement or
Yeah.
not of it, because Angelo just said, "Is it important for me to take a picture of the fish?" I like getting pictures of fish. It's great, right? What are you laughing at? You guys follow the same guidelines, not as to add these illegal fish to the caught on the shore filming.
So he's calling you a hypocrite, is what the man's calling you.
If he watched episode 1 this year, you'd see exactly what we did in that show, and it's exactly what you're supposed to do. I would recommend you go to YouTube and look for Fishing Canada. What was that episode called, Dean? Episode 1?
It was called Early Season E-Socks.
Early Season E-Socks, and that's right there is one of the things we did right there. We did not put that muskie, and it was a week away, less than a week away opening day, and we said, okay, let's just do it right there.
If I remember correctly, Jim jumped right in the water and facilitated.
He was afraid of the fish.
Marlon was in the studio.
Jim was a little afraid.
Jim is going to attack this.
Jim's so afraid of that fish. He used long pliers, as you can see. He didn't even use the regular. He said, "I'm staying away from that fish."
That was a great. I watched that.
That was funny.
It was funny as hell.
Yeah. But that's
you did. That's what you sounded like. Jim is going to release this fish.
I got to explain it. I wanted to explain to people, and the same with that smallmouth we caught in there. I want to explain what the reality is. We all get caught up in things like that, and you know what? I'm not going to say Angelo. I've done it where I've said, oh my God, this is a great fish, and then you find out later, wait a second, that fish should have been immediately released. I've done that. I've been guilty of it too, but we're trying our best not to do that anymore and show people the way we're doing it. So we're not in favor of not taking pictures here, Damien. Let's get it right. Yeah. We are anglers here. You know what I mean? We get it. We know what it's all about, and we love that great big fish catch. It's cool, and you want to show somebody? Absolutely, I get that. You know what I mean? I've got a muskie that I killed years and years and years ago in the 70s. It was a 48-inch muskie. I got that mounted. You know what I mean? Do I regret it? Yeah, I do, kind of now. But I learned that was the only big fish I got mounted out of that. So we get that. You want to show these fish off. So.
One of the reasons that we do it because obviously that's the question that's being asked. The reason that in episode 1. Of this year's season, we kept those fish in because we very easily could have just cut that out of the show.
Exactly.
But we kept them in there so that we could start this dialogue, so that we could explain to you what to do and what not to do. Very honestly, it would have been easier for us just to cut that whole sequence with the muskie out or the smallmouth bass.
Yeah,
out.
Absolutely.
But we felt it was important that we talk to you about that.
We're making a point, right?
Yeah,
and it's a big issue right now. It's a huge issue right now.
So that's why there and there.
I like the way Volva's got us lit there. He's got you nice and bright, and me, I'm almost like
You're always in the
almost
dark.
unseen,
You gotta.
like, you know what I mean?
I know. Lean into it. There you go. There you go. There you go. Lean into it, Peter.
People over to the
Lean
Outdoor
into
Journal
it.
Radio podcast here.
Move your mic forward. Lean into it. Get in
Okay,
there.
here
There
we
you go.
How you doing?
That's what I'm talking about.
I like him better when I'm backhand in the
Well,
shadows.
because then you're in the shadows.
In the shadows.
You're in the shadows.
What's that movie, that TV show, the vampires?
What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows. It's good.
Wow.
It's pretty good.
I like that one.
Yeah,
You
it's
like
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Do you want to read Fox Fishing's response to Damien?
Sure. Fox Fishing 4K in response to Damien, who just sent that lovely comment. He's saying, I think it is good that they show catches that happen even when the species was not targeted and are out of season. So basically, what I didn't even know we had a fox.
You're
response.
clairvoyant.
I am that, every bit of that. I'll show you in a couple of minutes how clairvoyant I am. That happened when the species were not out of season. That's something that will happen to all of us as anglers at one point or another. The proper treatment and immediate release should be shown and explained to the public. Cutting those catches out altogether removes the possibility of learning. Well, and that was very well put,
Thanks, Fox
Fishing
Fishing 4K.
4K. Appreciate
Awesome.
that.
Thank you for that.
But a lot of times you'll see things in the fishing cash show, you wonder, well, how come? It was there by design, not by accident. We put them in there as an opportunity, and that's what that was.
So thank you for everybody that comments.
Now, can I tell you about my day yesterday?
I am waiting. I am
so
anticipating.
first of all, I want to open this shirt up because thank you.
What?
And I believe that this shirt is going to be, if not already, on the store site for sale.
Shop.fishingcanada.com.
By the way, I got to tell you something. I brought these down with me. Last week I went to Meekum car auction in Kissimmee, and my good buddy Steve Nedzwicki, co-host of the Fishing Canada show and host of what's he host of? He's doing a podcast with us. DOALO, that's it. I keep forgetting.
He hates that.
He hates it with a passion. Diaries of a Lodge Owner podcast on the Outdoor Journal Radio Network, and I got to tell you, he does such a great job.
He's good.
But I had an opportunity to spend several days with him this week down in Kissimmee, and him and I wore these around
At the auction?
At the auction. I got to tell you, they were a huge hit.
They loved it?
A huge hit.
That's awesome.
We met more people because of this shirt.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So anyways, one guy said, the only problem I don't like about, he says, you don't have it on the back. You should have it front and back.
He's probably right for showing it off. You're right, yeah.
That was the fun part. I got to tell you about the bullshit part, and that's why I wanted to open this up and let you see this, because it is a bunch of bullshit what happened to me yesterday. Should not happen to anybody, but unfortunately, from all accounts, the people I spoke to, it happens on a very frequent and increasingly more frequent basis. Now, I'm talking about not necessarily just an international flight. My first pet peeve is this. How can you run, and I don't care if the business is an airline or whether it's used tires or whether you sell condoms. I don't really give a shit. I just want to know, how can you run a business where you promise your customer something, you take the money, and then as soon as you have the money, you renege on your promise and then say, hey, did you read the fine print? Did you read the fine print? Well, if you had read the fine print, you'll see that I'm responsible for zero. I don't need to give you anything. Once I get your money, I'm good to go. That's how the airlines conduct business nowadays.
Is there a name in particular you want to throw out, or is it just everybody in general? You want to...
Well, okay, first of all, I wanted to, before we go much deeper into this, last year, Nick and Dean, correct me if I'm wrong, we had a very similar experience that I had yesterday, coming from, ironically, from Orlando. We were at the ICAST show, and were we not, 6, 7 hours, 8 hours delayed?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think our flight was supposed to be at like 8 a.m. or something. Yeah, and then we got delayed the night before till like 2:00, then another one to later.
Right. And that's the point I wanted to make. So this is not new. I've probably on this very podcast bitched and complained about Air Canada because they can't seem to get it right at all. Well, this is not Air Canada yet. Air Canada comes into this story a little later on. Right now, it's WestJet who seems to, in the last 2 years, they are Air Canada light.
Really? Eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yesterday they weren't light; they were full on Air Canada. Wow. So let me tell you what happened, and maybe you can critique me. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, because I already we've had enough experiences together flying too that we're not real happy with everything.
So I'm supposed to leave at 7 a.m. at the Orlando airport. My flight's at 7 a.m.
You're up nice and early. Obviously.
I need to be there 3 hours in advance.
Yep.
I got that whole deal going on. So I'm ready to go to bed at 4:00 on Saturday evening, right? Bags are packed.
Yeah.
4 a.m., we're out of here.
Yeah.
So I'm
it's
ready
like
to
duck
go.
hunting time.
Exactly.
That's like I don't even get people get up that early as duck hunters, right?
So as you guys remember, we got a late night notice from WestJet last year saying, oops, your flight's been delayed. It's now going to leave, I don't remember the times, but, instead of 9 o'clock, it's now going to leave at 11 o'clock or something like that.
Sault Ste. Marie with you and I this year.
Sault Ste. Marie.
Same.
We spent the whole day in the Soo.
Exactly.
At the airport. And if you know the Sault Ste. Marie airport, God bless you folks in Sault Ste. Marie, but it ain't exactly a wonderful airport that I want to spend time in. We spent the whole day there. Anyways. So at about 3 o'clock, that Saturday, this past Saturday, I'm thinking, boy, it's weird. We have no notification from WestJet about our flight. Because normally they'll say, hey, your flight's on schedule, or more often than not, hey, your flight's canceled, or whatever. Mm-hmm. I got no, so I called the Countess, my lovely wife, the Countess, and said, hey, I haven't gotten anything from WestJet. Oh, she says, no, they just sent me one. I'll send it off to you. And as she's doing it, she says, oh, your flight's been delayed to 10:30. I said, there's a surprise. All right, send it to me. So I get it, and I'd open it up, and,
Had you left the hotel yet, or no? Are you still?
No, I'm still. This is Saturday.
Oh, it's just the night.
This is Saturday.
Okay.
This is Saturday. Remember, I said I was going to go to bed at 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon, so I could get up Sunday morning. Well, Steve and I are getting ready, and so anyway, so I look at this thing, and it says, important flight information for your flight tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you scroll. First thing is flight's delayed. 10:30.
Gotcha. Now you get some sleep-in time.
So I didn't read it any further than that because I'm very familiar with the process. I've been delayed a million times, so I've just put it away.
Stevie didn't get this? Did Stevie get the same?
No, just went to Monique, who actually did the booking.
Okay.
She forwarded it to me. So we're saying, yes, now we can jam tonight because we wanted to jam.
Exactly.
So we,
You brought guitars down?
I'll tell you that story in a minute too.
Yeah, good.
No, we didn't bring them down. But anyways, so we did. Had a wonderful evening and went to bed and prepared for a 10:30 flight. So we're at the airport so here's the other problem I found out, that don't go beyond the 3 hours of your flight time. Don't go beyond 2 hours of your flight time when you go to Orlando, because their booths don't open up. Like the WestJet booth didn't open up till 2 hours before.
I remember that.
You remember that? We were lined up. You guys were sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
Same deal.
Yeah. We got there early.
The crowd's all there, all lined up. And in fact, I even made a joke. I said, oh, wow, there's the... because it was like the band coming on stage, right? The ticket kiosk WestJet people. One guy came in first early, and he set up all of the computers for them. I said, that's the guy who's tuning the guitar. Yeah. And he's tuning them all up. And I said, hang on. Here they come. The band's going to run. Sure as hell, the band rolls in, and everybody takes their position.
Yeah,
right?
all Bobby Dazzlered up, looking good.
Anyways, so we get to the window. And I said, gave him all the documentation. We're here to go. I didn't even say anything. I just said, gave him, good morning. How are you? Going to Toronto? Yep. Okay, good. He looks at this and he says, where did Where did you get the flight information? Flight? Where did I get it? It's a WestJet flight. And you guys sent me the notice that I was supposed to be on the 7 o'clock flight this morning, but you guys said it was canceled and delayed and moved to 10:30. No, that didn't happen. What do you mean it didn't happen?
So you're WestJet. Okay.
So I get my stuff out. I said, look, is that you? Yeah. He said, let me look at that. Wow. I have no idea where that came from. Because the 7 o'clock flight, in fact, you're up here on the screen now. You guys were absent from the 7. There's 2 of you, right? Yeah. You were absent from the 7 o'clock.
That flight flew.
Yeah. I said, well, okay, whoa, so what's
no wonder you're pissed off.
So what's going on? I don't know. He says, I'm going to look into it. I don't even know where that. Holy mackerel! The guy's all flustered. Nice guy.
Yep.
Nice guy.
Threw that one into him.
Jamar was his name. Wonderful young man.
Curveball.
He says, just let me work on this, and he's working, and so I got to call head office. So he called. He's on. He's got his little earpiece in. He's calling head office, and they put him on hold. Well, not hold, but recording says if you're looking for this, and now he's on hold, and now he puts it on the speaker so we can hear that legitimately he's trying, and we hear the music, the usual shit. And I'm talking to Jamar. I said, so what do you make of this, man? Like, this is crazy. I said, at very least, this is bullshit. He says, yeah. He says, the problem is we don't have a 10:30 flight. He says, the only flight, the next flight we've got is 11:15, and it's oversold. I can't even get you guys on that. I said, well, give me somebody I can talk to. He says, there's nobody here to talk to other than me. I said, no, but I mean, like, somebody has to be here in charge. Because they've got you on hold out of Calgary, because he was calling Calgary. Somebody here has to be able to tell me what I'm going to do. Because right now I have no idea there's nobody here. And him and I debated that comment. He finally got a colleague just to come over and
say, there's nobody here.
And so what happens is that these people at the gate in Orlando don't actually work for WestJet. They're a third party that runs their computers.
Yeah. Holy crap.
So he's got no say in this at all. Even if he'd like to, he's got really nothing. He can't make any decisions because I said, I want another flight. Check any other airline. There's got to be other airlines going out of here today that you can book me on because of this colossal error. So
you didn't say error, did you? This colossal error.
And meanwhile, they are so backed up here. And he said at one point, he says, listen, he says, you hear him, I'm on hold. Let's just, let me get these other passengers. I said, no. I'm not going to do that.
Was there any other people working? Was there a couple lines or two or three?
They had 6.
Okay,
they were all
so
jammed.
you just got one. Okay.
Anyways, bottom line is I said, no, I'm going to stand here until I get something. Because right now, I don't even know what I'm doing. Am I staying overnight? Are you going to book a hotel for me? I just checked out. I got no place to go. I was losing my mind.
Oh, I could see
I was losing my mind.
I've seen you lose your mind a little bit before. I think.
But he was nice. He was nice. I couldn't even get mad at him because he did everything he could.
Yeah.
Finally, Steve and I deliberated over it, and we said, you know what? This is just a waste of time. A total waste of time. We'll deal with this at a later date. Let's see about getting on another flight. Right? So I called home and Monique started working on getting me on another flight. So anyway, she finds a flight from Porter. And the flight was for 11:15. And it's now 10 o'clock.
And you guys are parked at the international airport,
yeah,
right?
The international airport. Right. So now that's all new down there now. So now they've got terminal A, B, and C. A and B are in the old building, but C is I think it's in Disneyland because you got to take a train. You got to first of all, you have to walk out of the main airport, which is all under construction, and you have to walk about, I'm not exaggerating, about a mile to the train. Then you have to wait for a train. You get on the train, and then it's a 20-minute train ride to the news station. Oh. And then, because that station, that Terminal C is under construction, you have to then, with your luggage, keep in mind, you got your luggage here with you too, okay? You have to drag that through a parking lot, which is under construction, around to the back and up a bunch of stairs to get to. Anyways, she's a 40-minute ordeal, door to door.
Okay.
All right. So I've got a flight waiting for me over there from Porter. So we run because we know we're cutting it close. So we literally run with our luggage through this whole mess, and we get there, and there's nobody there. There's nobody. It's all shut down. Porter's like shut down. There's nobody there.
Okay.
And we're saying, help! Is there anybody here? Anyways,
my God.
So to make a long story short, we got back on the phone with Monique and told her there's nobody there. She said, okay, all right. Okay, let me see what else I can do. I'll get right back to you. So we wait around. Meanwhile, the flight that at 11:15, we could see it. It taxied away and left, right?
The one that you're supposed to be on next, yeah. Okay.
So we get a call from Nick. Okay, all right, I got you. I managed to get the last 2 seats on a flight with Air Canada. I said, oh, God, seriously? Yep. Yeah, no, they got, but it's a 9 p.m. flight. I said, oh, shit, I don't want to be here. Anyways, go back on the train, walk through the mud, up the stairs, back to the other place, sweating like dogs by now. And we get to the Air Canada area. Lots of people there. Lots of people working there. First thing we noticed was flight 8241 to Toronto has been delayed to 11 p.m. No, 11:35 p.m. Fuck. I thought I was going to die.
Oh, my God.
So I get back on the phone to Monique and she, okay, you got to get another flight. So bottom line is she finds another Porter flight, right, for 4:30 in the afternoon, and it's now like 2:15.
Okay.
And we take a chance. We go all the way back to Terminal C where we just came from.
Oh my God.
Anyways.
Oh my God. Was there people at the Porter site then? Was there?
There was people at the Porter site, yeah. And we booked it and we waited. As I'm waiting now, I have to phone Air Canada to see about refunding. Mm-hmm. Like, keep in mind, I got 3 trips paid for now.
Yeah.
For 2 guys.
Yeah.
So I'm on the phone with to see about. Well, it seems like Air Canada doesn't do refunds, nor do they do credits.
Oh,
so this is what I'm being told on the phone. Of course, I lost my mind a little bit, Peter, with that person on the phone. Yeah, and I may have been borderline insane. Anyways. We finally get to the bottom of it. The poor woman didn't realize that this was due to a rescheduling of a flight. The one I had bought at 9 o'clock was rescheduled to 11:30, yeah. And in fact, then we did qualify for a credit. But I was on the phone with her over an hour, waiting for my Porter flight. Get it all done. Porter's got some problems now with this flight. It's going to be delayed a little bit getting off the tarmac because they have problems with the incoming flight. We finally pull off, and it's not a direct flight. It goes to Ottawa, and then from Ottawa to Toronto. By the time we left Orlando, it was after 9 p.m. We finally got on a plane, went to Ottawa, and when we get to Ottawa, we're told that there's a delay with your Toronto connection. But before we found that out, we were on the tarmac, waiting to for the plane to unload, but we couldn't because there was a problem with the ground crew. They were busy with somebody else. Apparently, nobody told them that they had a flight coming in this evening. And so we waited for 45 minutes. I'll tell you what, you think I was pissed off? You should have heard the captain of the plane when he's got to apologize to all of us every 15 minutes, right?
So you guys are sitting on the plane still?
We're in the plane.
Oh my God.
And he's saying this, he said, this is absolutely ridiculous, folks. I'm totally embarrassed. On behalf of WestJet, I would just like, meanwhile, I'm thinking, you guys aren't much better than the ground crew, so don't go giving yourself a pat in the back, okay? But anyways, yeah, the ground crew was not available for 45 minutes. They finally came. We unloaded the plane. We get in. Now we're worried about our connection because we had a 2-hour in the meantime, right? Okay. So we're saying connection. Oh, don't worry, that plane has you're going to be at least 2 hours more because it's coming in from Fort Lauderdale and they had a problem with the machinery or something. So we're sitting there, and at this point, you can't even it's beyond ridiculous. Yeah. It's beyond ridiculous. So then they announced, folks, I hope you don't mind. The plane is now in. We're going to deplane and have it all cleaned up for you, ready to go. But I hope you don't mind. We're going to delay it another 45 minutes because we're waiting for another plane that's coming in from God knows where. So, and they're connecting to Toronto as well. So we thought you wouldn't mind if we just, hung in here and waited for them.
Did you tap out by then? Did you just say
I
whatever?
was tapped out. And to make matters even worse, my very favorite shirt, Dean, my gray plaid, I travel with it all the time. It got lost.
How did you just lose one shirt?
In all of this, because I was carrying it with me to put over top of my T-shirt. Yeah. So I had it, on my briefcase, on the suit. I had it with me in my hand and all that. But in this whole mess, I lost my one and favorite shirt. Gone. So I want to sum it all up by saying I have no idea what's going on out there, but if you are traveling nowadays, God be with you. Because, and speaking to all the other people that I was traveling with, they're all having similar days and similar experiences, and nobody is accountable anymore. There is no accountability in the airline business. They can just do whatever they want for whatever reason they want.
Isn't that crazy?
And you got no recourse. Hang on, the best.
Oh, but wait, there's more.
In Ottawa, when we finally deplaned, and I'm wondering about, are we going to make the next flight? And then I find out, well, it's going to be late anyways. But our luggage isn't showing up. So I went over to a guy, and I'm just beside myself. Right? I got to get. He says, sir, if you don't lower your voice, I won't even speak to you. He says, I have had a terrible day today. I've been up since 9 o'clock, and it's not a good day for me either. So either calm down or I'm just going to walk away. This was a WestJet employee. What are you going to do? I just don't know what else to say about it. Totally disgusted with the whole airline system. End of story.
And if you're a dude walking around in a gray plaid shirt on either Ottawa or Florida, you better watch your ass because if he finds out, he's going to kill you.
My favorite of all time. Had that shirt forever.
Oh my!
It's an overshirt, gray, black plaid. It's wonderful. If you stole it from me, I hope you die. Anyways, I will not be traveling for a while. I got to tell you right now, I had travel plans in my immediate future. They will not be executed. Wow. I just could not take that again.
Wow, no kidding.
I couldn't.
It's traumatic.
Sorry about that, but I had to get it off my chest. So, one final.
There's a bunch of bullshit.
That's correct.
That's pretty
and these shirts, by the way, are available on the Fishing Canada store site. I believe, I'm hoping they're up. And there's all kinds of
They better be.
There.
They will be now, right?
Goodies. Don't expect the winter goodies there. They'll be coming in the spring. But this is there.
It's kind of a winter scene there, right?
Yeah, this is there. This week's fan question. Sorry to bother you with my own personal trivial little events, but I just had to unload that. And by the way, I want to name all three airlines again. WestJet sucks. Air Canada sucks. And now Porter sucks, not just for that experience, but you and I experienced them in Sault Ste. Marie where we lost an entire day. Where is the part where I can charge you for my day? Where is the part where there's some value to doing this to me? I don't know, there's got to be a lawyer out there somewhere who takes on cases like this.
A lot of lawyers that love to listen to you right now.
No, but take on the case where there are, some, certainly not necessarily punitive damage. Well, maybe they are punitive. I mean, it's, you ruined my health yesterday, so I should be able to charge you.
And that other poor guy that got up at 9 a.m., you ruined his health because of the residual effects, right?
And you lost my shirt. My shirt was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to me.
I'd say if a lawyer wants to do a little pro bono work, you got Angelo is your man right here.
I got it all documented, by the way. I couldn't follow it all to the T, but I have it all documented. Everything was documented. So now I'm out 3 flights. Just so you know, I'm out 3 flights, a shirt, and my
traumatic
my stress level is beyond belief. And I lost a whole day, and I didn't get any sleep, and I'm a mess. So, lawyer, give me a call. You and I think we got something cooking here. All right.
I can't wait to see that case. That'll be the best.
Fan question as submitted by Josh Bastoni from British Columbia via email.
Nice. Josh says, hey guys, I'm wondering what the bare minimum fish finder to use for ice fishing in terms of features and clarity. Well, that's pretty easy. I think
he says bare minimum. What does that mean? Well, explain that to me.
I'm wondering it's either for ice fishing. Yeah, I mean, how many screens do you know? Well, I'm going to assume cost is a huge one, right? I would think. He doesn't say that, but he says in features and clarity. They all pretty much have the same features. It's just a matter of screen sizes, et cetera, right? And then the costs go up.
Well, the maps versus no maps, I guess. Right. That's pretty important for ice fishing.
Right. Well,
unless you have it on like the Navionics app, but you need something.
But is he talking like a Panoptics kind of a deal here?
No,
a live scope kind of a deal here?
I think he's how do you get started in it? We brought one. We just happen to have one in stock right here beside us.
Well, look at you.
This would be the bare minimum right here. That's a Striker 4 Garmin kit, ice kit. And do you have something there for it? Don't you have I
have that one.
The price tag.
I do have this stuff
right there.
Yep.
That's at Radio World right now. So $290 gets you an entire kit. This will do anything you need to do when you're ice fishing. I mean, it's got a flasher screen. It's got a GPS on it, so it doesn't have the maps. It has a GPS, so you can mark waypoints, et cetera, and it's got all the other screens, traditional screen, et cetera. So something like this. The only problem with this is it's a small screen, right? It's got a tiny little...
Well, I also see the lack of GPS as a problem.
Lack of mapping.
Or mapping.
Yes, but he wants the bare minimum, right? If he wants the bare minimum with mapping, you're going to be into about $500 to $600. Right. Okay, then you're going to go to a 5-inch screen or the 7-inch screen or something like that. But... this, and basically, all these ice fisher units like that, they have a transducer that you drop down. This is variable, and this is a float, so it doesn't sink down. No, you drop that down the hole. You fish right beside it. When you get a fish, you pull it out, you set it down, you catch your fish, and then you put it back in and do some more fishing.
In my absence, you guys did some work here. Didn't you? It's like the shopping network now. I like this.
Buy that on fishingcanada.com.
I love this. I'm really impressed. So you guys did put in some work last week.
Hell yeah, buddy. Yeah. While you were going through all your frustrated life, we we want to keep our sponsors happy. It's I mean, the flasher unit versus, this is a traditional scale there they have that picture of, but they do have the amplitude scale on the side. There's a little line under, you can see that close enough. That amplitude is real time. The other side is the traditional, which is
that's on the historical. Right side on the screen now.
Yeah, right there. So that's real time. That's what you're really watching. That's a fish, but it's in the past sort of thing. It's been got. So don't know where that fish is now. There's no fish underneath there. So you either that side of that, you look at the amplitude scale, or you look at a flasher, and you want to see real time because you want to see right below when a fish comes in. You can move your bait. You'll see your bait come in, and then you work from there.
So really, all of this information here is really of no use to anybody.
It's a nice picture. It's nice to You're seeing what your jig did. Right. You're seeing that fish that's gone from somewhere else. So it's kind of
And that's the beauty of real time sonar.
Exactly. Exactly.
Which would be the ultimate. If this is the minimum,
then
the ultimate would
There's the ultimate right there. Look at the price tag of that. That's your ultimate.
$6,350.
Yeah. So that's a GPS map unit. Actually, that's an Echo map.
It's an Echo, yeah.
See, it says GPS map.
Yeah.
That's the wrong picture there, folks. So I don't know.
So I'll take back
Jack,
what I said about you guys working
Jack,
hard all of this week.
is my
That's
error.
you got to give Jack
I blew up the image and changed it. So that
Oh,
don't blame
Dean
Jack.
did.
Don't blame Jack.
So
We'll
that will
talk
be
about that
a
later.
unit better than that unit, even a 10-inch GPS map unit, which is different. But did you take that picture, Dean, of the ice hut? Did I send you that? Did you?
That
the
was
inside?
actually in the background of our last thumbnail. This one, except I changed it to our TV show.
That's okay. So those TV screens in this, that's an ice hut right there, folks. With that fish finder right there, you can actually watch that fish finder screen on both those big TV screens.
And he's watching the Fishing Canada show too.
Well, there you go. If he had a satellite, he could watch Fishing Canada on one, and he could watch his live scope image on another.
Wow.
See that?
I'd look good in that shot.
Damn
wouldn't you?
good, yes. All it takes, somebody spends $6,000 and they can watch you in that hut.
They got that whole
and the
hut
fish.
and everything. The hut included.
Oh,
in it?
well, you might want to add a little flavoring to that price tag on that one. Anyways, Josh, it's like it's less than $300, right? So can get you into the game of ice fishing. Josh, probably, is it Josh or something?
I believe so.
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah, Josh.
BC, he must be in northern BC, right? Because I don't know there's a whole lot of...
Bastone. You know what that means? He's obviously Italian.
See.
See, it's Kane. Bastone.
Wow.
Josh Bastone is Josh Kane.
There you go.
Pretty cool, eh?
Kwai Chang Kane on Kung
From
Fu.
British Columbia. Nice to have you folks out there.
Absolutely.
listening
Thanks for
in
the
to
question,
us.
Josh. There you go, buddy. Good luck in northern BC, because I don't think they have ice fishing in southern, do they?
Yeah, they do.
Do they?
Yeah, not like on the coast, but
Right. Inland?
in the interior for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Time for a special guest. There's an adventure just outside these walls.
It's something you'll hate to leave and can't wait to get back to.
It's a place where memories are made and bonds are forged.
For some, it's hitting the trails. For others, it's a weekend at the lake. It's a place full of campfires and quality time.
This year, take some time to reconnect with friends, family, and nature. No matter what adventures await you, Coleman has the gear you need. Visit colemancanada.ca to gear up today.
The outside is calling.
Answer the call. All right, let's bring him on. Last time he was on the program, we had a wonderful conversation.
Oh, my
Did
God,
open up
still-
a few little.
We're still talking about a lot of that stuff to this day. You know what I mean? That was a long time ago. So
His name is Paul Radomski, and he is an author of an incredible book that has been put up. But he's a fisheries biologist, Minnesota DNR. Has been with them for 35 years, and fascinating gentleman, expert in my opinion on walleye. Even though I might debate some of it with you, Paul, but that's okay.
that's okay. That's
Welcome
good.
to the show, man.
And Dean will have to cut out the fact of who I'm working for, because I can neither confirm nor deny who I'm actually working for.
All right, we'll keep it at that then.
Okay. Well said. Well said.
Anyway, do you want to kick us off?
Well,
Mr.
Paul
Rowe?
was. I don't know if anybody remembers, if you've been following us, episode 56 of the Outdoor Journal Radio podcast, where Paul come on, and believe it or not, Paul, you probably don't even know this yet. It was our best performing episode of
Yes.
2023.
Congratulations,
So thank
Paul.
you very much for your fantastic information. So
Well, I think it was from you guys. You did most of the engaging thinking going on that episode. So I had a great conversation. I learned as much as I gave, I'm sure.
well, we're more of the BSers and you're more of the fact kind of guys, okay? That's all I can say about that one. We talked about wildlife biology, management, more in the open water stuff. If anybody, I really recommend that people go back and listen to that episode, because it's very
One thing before we leave that subject, because today we want to spend a little bit more time maybe on ice and how walleye are affected by that. But getting back to what we spoke about last time, and really not, I don't think we came up to any conclusions, but we certainly came up with a few more theories, and that is that at any given time on any body of water, walleye can be found pretty much in all of the depths from shallow to deep. And in fact, we now believe that at any given moment on any given body of water, there are walleye that will be out roaming in schools, perhaps in open water. And there will be walleye in the traditional, 12-foot little ridges and rock outcroppings and points and, that kind of thing at the same time. on the same lake during the same conditions. So they're certainly not one-dimensional.
That's for sure.
No, and that goes for a lot of different species, right? I mean, you get different behaviors, different traits for certain fish. So, and it's very similar to humans, very similar to deer. There's always a component that maybe wanders more, uses the open water more, and there's a subpopulation that follows what we consider traditional behavior, right? And I think guys do a lot more acoustic tagging. I think they'll get a better handle on that variety of behavior that's actually occurring. Right. So you may be right, and as we acquire more of these, day-to-day, hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute kind of behaviors by looking at what the fish are doing, yeah, that could very well
Paul,
be true.
is it not mostly, though, based on the food source, the walleye's food source, as to where they're going to be? Even if they are in open water, they are in points, they are in that. As long as they're close to food for the most part.
Yeah, of course. I mean, ecologists will call it the optimal foraging theory, right? That a walleye is going to try to maximize its returns on its effort, right?
Right.
So it's going to seek to catch prey to minimize the energy expended to catch that prey.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the fish. And we do the same thing hunting, right? Or fishing.
Yep.
I'm gonna go find the best spot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit on this location at this time because I think I'm gonna have a good chance of catching a fish or
the honey hole,
deer, whatever.
Yeah, the honey hole,
absolutely.
Right? We're all looking for the honey hole, right? We don't want to run around and waste gas and time and effort. You just want to sit on top of them and grab, which then leads me to believe that maybe the high percentage areas for walleye anglers would be to seek out those big schools of bait in open water, because I would assume, if what you just said is correct, and I believe it to be correct, that those walleye would not be far from that school all day and all night long, because they know that when that moment comes that they need to fuel up, it's very little energy used, because the school's right there. It's very visible. They go in, pluck off one or two, and then slowly drop down below the school again, right?
Yeah, let's think about the optimal forage theory in the context of thinking like a walleye, right? So I'm a walleye. I've got some pretty good strengths. I'm mobile. I can do fast turns compared to, say, a northern pike that's really good at ambush, straight ahead kind of stuff. I've got an eye adaptation, back of the eye reflector. In low light conditions, I've got the advantage.
Yeah.
With my prey like Cisco that may be in the open water area, they don't have that. Perch, they don't have that. So, but I got weaknesses, right? I'm nearsighted. I've got great side vision, but as I get close to prey, I lose my binocular vision, right? And I can't move fast. I can't come up on prey very quick because I got a gas bladder that's regulated by my circulatory system. So it's a slow system, not like trout that has a duct between its gas bladder and its stomach that can burp the gas. Mm-hmm. So I got some restrictions, shortcomings, but I've got some really good strengths. And as a walleye, I'm gonna take advantage of my strengths. So if I'm open water, I'm gonna probably start foraging under low light conditions because I got a better chance to getting close to a Cisco maybe, or a school of perch or a school of minnows. And I'm going to use that to my advantage, right? So probably why we don't catch or probably why we catch most of our walleye at low light conditions, right? Not to say that they're not out there in open water, just, constantly searching. They're pretty efficient at being fairly slowly looking around for stuff. But again, they're going to want to maximize their catch rates. And to do that, they're going to seek to focus in on their advantages that they have in that environment.
Yeah. You said a couple things. You said they have poor eyesight in general. Are they What's the range of a walleye's eyesight? Do they have a worse eyesight than a pike, a muskie, a bass, or is there a comparison that way?
That's a great question. I haven't really thought about it from that perspective, but I know they're a little bit nearsighted, right? So they can't see very far. And in a water environment, especially if it's turbid or deep, they may not have great distances you can see. If you're scuba diving, you go, oh my God, I can't see very far.
Right.
Something else you said, and I don't want it to sound like I'm argumentative here. And I'm surprised Pete didn't pick up on it, but you said something.
One more thing, but that's okay.
You said that they were slow moving, right? I believe, Paul?
Well, if they're just cruising, right? If they're just in a school and they're cruising along, a break or something.
But if they'll
often just swim at a fairly slow speed. Okay. But they've got a tremendous ability to burst very quick speeds.
Okay, I was going to say, because
you can see that when you're in the water and go, oh my God, look at that. It just took off.
They're lightning fast. We had a huge aquarium with walleye and other predator fish in it. And at feeding time, I'm telling you, there were few fish in that tank that could outpace a walleye when it was hungry, because it's explosive. The only way I can describe it, it was explosive. It was instant.
Yeah, and like Paul says, the turning ability. Go on YouTube or somewhere and watch a penguin, the way they swim underwater.
Oh, right.
That's what a walleye. They're so their agility and speed and all that kind of. That's what a walleye is under the water when they want to. But as Paul said, I think, and you know what, it goes back to when they're following bait and they're holding all their energy until they absolutely need to feed. Well, usually the bait balls that we see on our fish finders, they're usually at rest as a rule too. They're very slow. The walleye there's no reason to move fast until they need to feed. Boom. Then everybody moves fast and then they go back to slow down again, right? So they're opportunists. Paul, but you said another one about the bladder control. So not unlike a trout, and absolutely we get that, but does a walleye have enough brain power to say, okay, I'm in 35 to 40 feet of water right now. If I go up to 12 feet to hit that bait, I could be in trouble and come back down. Like, will they just not do it, do you think? Or do they have that kind of control?
I mean, the internal pressure they're going to sense that and go, oh my God, I'm pushing it too far, right?
Right.
They've got an instinct to that. It's going, okay, how far can I push it?
Okay.
Based on where their starting depth is.
Right. Okay. And what about a fast burst? If they went, boom, straight up that 20 feet and then back down to 40, you know what I mean? Would that?
Yeah, they might be able to pull that off, right? As long as they come back down fairly quickly. If it's just a quick, rapid ascent and then descent, that's probably not going to affect them as much, right? How much pain tolerance do you have, right?
Okay.
And we talked about that on a previous podcast about, catching fish deep or what could be perceived as deep water versus shallow water fish, and the time that you muck around with them before they go back in.
Yeah.
All right. The most controversial thing that you talked about last time on the show, and we'll talk about it again now, was the retention of oversized fish. Oversized in the sense of 18 inches and above. Do you recall that little conversation that we had?
I was probably talking about how there's been certain trends in fisheries management, right? For walleye, for example, when I started the business, it was all, well, we should have minimum sizes. We should protect the small fish. And then we realized, well, we were hitting some of these fisheries pretty hard. The number of spawners was, getting close to a concern point. Right. And we started talking about, hey, you need to have a certain number of spawners in the population to sustain the fishery. And I think right now we're in this period of, we got to release the big fish. Mm-hmm. We got to release those big fish. The females have eggs, and one, if we're taking our mammal approach to fish, right? A walleye female is going to spawn 10 to 100,000 eggs, in the spring. And if every one of those eggs for the population survive, you're going to have no water available.
Sure.
When they're sure. Yeah. It's just, we can't take that that deer mammal kind of philosophy, how we're thinking about management, and apply it to fish, where their whole reproductive strategy of walleye is to bomb the shore, bomb the river riffles with eggs, and hope maybe half of 1% will survive to hatch and recruit into the fishery. So I might have been starting there, but at the same time, I was talking about, or might have been talking about, of the fact that people believe as the number of female or large walleye increase, the number of small walleye will be available, right? It's a linear thing. If I got more females, large fish, small fish coming up. So why doesn't that make any sense? I mean, why are we thinking linearly like that, right? Do you have a clue?
None.
No.
All right, Dean?
Dean's cheating. Dean was cheating.
I have no clue either.
Well, okay. It's an ecosystem. There's always limits, right? I can't go on infinitely straight up. I'm going to hit a threshold, a carrying capacity of walleyes. So that can't be linear. It has to curve. And for walleyes, once you get a certain number of females or a certain number of large walleye, it actually declines. So the number of fish, young fish that are going to go into the fishery is declining with that large population of large fish.
And that's because of what, Paul?
Two things. One is that you got this large population, they're competing against the small fish that they're producing. So there's less forage for them.
Right.
And second, those large walleye are going to consume young walleye because they're just prey.
Right.
So that's called cannibalism, right? So those two factors mean that if you have this large abundance of large fish in the population, you're going to see less reproduction and recruitment of small fish. And that's called, it was discovered by a Canadian.
Oh, hooray.
It was Dr. Bill Ricker. He's the most famous fisheries scientist in the world. He's dead now, but you guys should celebrate his life by having a holiday in Canada.
We got enough.
I hear you, buddy.
We got enough.
It's like a spring day, right? So that kids would go out fishing. No
True.
school today.
Hey,
It's Bill Ricker Day.
I love it. I love it.
So let
That's a
me
great idea.
let me just ask this question of you, Paul. If I have a wonderful walleye lake and I manage it, it's mine. I'm going to manage it. And I've been blessed with the opportunity to manage a lake that has not just walleye, but for some reason, genetically speaking, it's a bigger, stronger, it came from a bigger, stronger gene pool because the fish grow faster. They are just bigger at birth, if you will. Okay. And I got to manage this lake, and I want to turn it into a trophy lake where people can come and get their personal best walleye each and every time they come out. So would I be wise to have a no retention policy on that lake, zero retention policy on that lake? Or based on what I just heard you say, should I put a marginal retention of walleye, say under 24 inches, and have at it for the 24 and up?
Yeah,
which would be best?
These are the challenges that fish managers face all the time, right? So from your description of that fishery, I go, hey, that sounds like a place that can grow some outstanding walleye. I might just have a total catch and release on it. I'm going to forego some of the harvest because, hey, these large fish are going to suppress the population, right? But I'm going to save this fish. And this is going to be one fishery that people will go to in the hopes that they're going to catch, an 8 or 10 or 12 pound walleye, right? That's cool. And you got plenty of lakes in the area, probably. Hey, I might manage another lake where I'm going to fish it pretty hard. I'm going to try to get as much surplus production out of that fishery as possible. That means I might allow a lot of harvest of big fish, but I'm still going to manage it such I don't deplete the number of large fish so that I worry about the fact that I might not have enough spawners to actually maintain that population. Okay. But then you get the best of both worlds. And as a fisherman or an angler, I can say, today I'm going to go to this great lake that you just described, and I'll have a chance to catch, maybe a lifetime fish, something really outstanding. And that's cool. And then other days, hey, I'm trying to get some fish for the grandkids so that we have a good meal.
Yep.
And I'm going to catch a lot of fish, and I'm even take the kids with me because I know I can catch, several fish at certain times of the day. And I know that fishery is managed that way. And I think that's the challenge with the fact that oftentimes we get into this fashion, right? We got to let the big fish go. And in many places, like, the Midwest here or Ontario, there's a lot of opportunity to mix this up so you have a diversity of fisheries. You've got some great trophy class walleye fisheries, and you've got these great places where you can catch a meal and have a lot of action. And I think that depends on the public accepting that fact that you can manage walleye fisheries differently based on different objectives.
Right.
And if we did that, I think we'd all be better off. Instead of, right now in Minnesota, we're pushing a lot of these into they're trying to push all of them into trophy, walleye fisheries.
Right. Because that's where that's where the money is, Paul. I mean, let's be honest about it. People are willing to spend dollars to go to lakes and resorts or fishing lodges that have traditionally yielded big walleye, and they'll pay money for that, right? Whereas that's fish managers working with the people that are living there and trying to make a living there to say, okay, what is best for this local economy? Is it for the local angler so that they can have a place to come and fish, have a meal, bring back fish back, or is it something that you're developing this outstanding fishery where you want people to come from worldwide, right? And say, oh, this is a really outstanding walleye fishery. It's unique. Please come here. And those, that's dependent on the public telling the fish managers what they really want. And oftentimes fish managers have been giving things that maybe, right? Or at least we haven't had a broad discussion with the public, right? Who makes that decision?
Right.
Is it the agency making that decision, or is it the agency making that decision in consultation with the public? Yeah. And I think that's what has to happen.
Well, we know the latter very seldom happens, and I hate to say this. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but very seldom do you get science working in harmony with the economists in that area. It just the two don't seem to talk or communicate.
Hey, Paul, in Angelo's lake, sorry to interrupt, but I want to go back to Angelo's lake. He's got this beautiful lake that's just loaded with big fish, real good breeders, real good stockers. Or I was going to say the stockers. Would the DNR or would our MNR, would they use a lake like that to stock other lakes? Or do they just let the walleye population kind of, in general, let's say in Minnesota, that you know that the best, do they just let things go as it is, or do they say, hey, Angelo's lake is so good with these prime fish that are just the best of the best, let's stock other lakes with that?
Minnesota, it has a fairly sophisticated approach based on genetics. So it doesn't want to mix pools of walleye, and it's mostly spatial, right? You've got a southern walleye that's very adapted to the southern part of the state that can grow fast in warm water. And you've got other populations in the north and northeast that are distinct. And we don't think the state doesn't think it's good to stock fish from a different genetic population on top of another population, because you might damage that fishery in some way, right? Those fish in certain locations have adapted to that spot,
right?
And they may be the best fish for that location in the state. So they've got kind of the state chunked out to where they'll take fish from, and often where they're getting the fish are places that they're easy to trap right in the spring, right? Spring trap nettings, that they can catch a lot of fish, get a good egg take. and then distribute those to similarly genetically in that same genetic group.
That's freaky.
I don't think we do a lot of that here.
No, I don't think we do.
I know for a fact we don't.
So if you, I got to get this right. So if you took southern fish eggs and planted them in a northern lake, would those fish bring that genetics from that south, grow up with those genetics from the southern fish into that northern lake?
Yeah, and if the concern is that if you bring those fish up north, for example, one, they might do worse. They're not evolved to that specific habitat or location, the thermal conditions, whatever, and they'll do poorly. The other one is, we've been doing this before we did a lot of the genetic work, is we'd be moving fish from up north down south, and we swamp some of those southern gene populations with these northern populations. They ended up not doing very well, those northern fish in southern waters. But there was a concern that we might have essentially damaged that southern population or parts of it. So now we only find that southern population in a few water bodies. And why is that? Well, probably because our past stocking, we probably overwhelmed those populations with fish that just replace that population. And that's not a good thing, because we want to maintain that genetic diversity. Because you don't want to lose that, because you might need that in the future.
Right.
Minnesota's changing. We might be really dependent on that southern genetic strain in a changing world. So we just got to think long term. And it's not good to eliminate one genetic strain just because you don't think it's growing well, or it's not optimal, right?
For the longest time here, I don't know whether it's still going on today. I haven't looked into it for a little while, but for the longest time, we would take Bay of Quinte walleye eggs and use them as the source for most of our spawning in south central Ontario for walleye. Mm-hmm. That was the big place. The White Brothers hatchery in that area was the contributor. I think at that when I last was involved, and I think they were up to 90 or 95% of the stocking programs in the southern part of the province came from that gene pool.
So I know, Crystal Lake, where my father-in-law's on. They took, from what I had heard, they had taken Quinte walleye and put it in Crystal Lake, and one thing about that lake, I'll tell you what, it has big walleye in it.
Yeah, of course.
Now, I don't know if they're spawning successfully or not, and I don't know what size they bring them into there or not, but holy man.
Well,
and that's a little farther north, too. That's like an hour and a half, basically, North Bob Cajun area in Ontario.
I have to believe that they were successful in spawning, because this program I'm talking about had been in place for a decade before I stumbled onto it. And they lined up like all of the different hatcheries would have to. It was almost
take a number,
almost like getting a tag for moose. Wow. You know what I mean? They'd all put in their requirements that they wanted, and then M&R would do whatever they did to give them the allotment or a portion of the allotment that they had requested. Because as you know, Paul, I mean, I don't think there's another place on the planet that has walleye. Well, there's two different types of walleye in Bay of Quinte too. That's the other thing we can't forget. We've got the ones that live there, or we can certainly call them native, and then we've got the ones that move in from Lake Ontario. And I don't know whether at the time that this hatchery program was in place, whether they did target the big fish coming in from the lake, or whether they were using the bay fish.
Right.
But all I know is that eggs from Bay of Quinte for walleye were like gold, absolute gold. So,
when they overfished the Red Lake system here in Minnesota, they looked around. They thought, well, we could restore it quick if we stocked it, and then they did the genetics of what remained in Red Lake and compared it to nations, and says, oh, here's one on Vermilion Lake that's very similar. Let's take the fry from our egg take there and stock those into red. So they were thoughtful about doing that, and probably M&R will get to that point too.
Yeah.
The other concern that fish managers have is, you may have traits that are inherited, right? You've got lake resident walleyes that river spawn, and we see a very high site fidelity for that, about 70%. So for walleyes that live in these large systems that spawn in rivers, 70% of them go back to the same river year to year.
One of my questions I had written on the sheet right there. Wow. No kidding.
Well, why do you have such a high fidelity to that area? Is it a trait? Is it an inheritable trait? Or is it something that they learned? And the science is really quite unclear about that. But say, for example, you're stocking river run fish into systems that don't have large rivers coming into them, right?
Right.
What's the likelihood of creating a sustainable fisheries there, right?
Yeah.
So those are kind of things that people are still trying to understand a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
That would be an issue, definitely.
That's cool.
Hey,
Before we get to the winter stuff,
right.
one more question, Paul. How big, let's say a very generic question here, in that is, how effective is a 30-inch female walleye at spawning? Is there a number there? Is like this 28, when they get to 30 inches, are they
Prime. What's the prime spawners?
When do they shut down? Not more when the prime. When is it, when they kind of over with their deal?
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a certain length that they're prime on, right?
Right.
What we know from looking at spawning females is the larger the fish is, the earlier they'll often spawn.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if that's because they're more ready to go, and I don't know if that's often the best spawning strategy. Some years it is, right? The earlier you get in, the earlier your eggs will hatch. But if your timing is wrong, those eggs hatch and the perch hatch hasn't happened, or they're not synced up really well, then it may not be. So from a population perspective, I think it helps to have a variety of female spawners that spawn across a wide window of spawning activity. That way you have some resilience to some environmental conditions that might be unique for that particular year.
Okay.
So I would say we know for sure the bigger the female, the bigger the egg mass that they have.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
That's probably good.
Yeah. Like a big 34, 35-inch walleye. I mean, that's got to be an old fish, I'm going to assume, around here in our Great Lakes. That's got to be an older fish, I would think.
It could be 20 years old for all you know.
Yeah.
So moving into the cold water period, which was what we were supposed to do on this segment, we do get carried away. And it's a perfect segue from what you guys were just talking about in terms of spawning. If it's a fact that female fish start developing their eggs, I believe, in the fall of the year prior to the spring, is that correct?
They start developing almost after after they just spawn. So they'll start forming eggs. They'll become more observable by fall, right?
By fall,
but,
right.
Almost mature by fall.
Wow.
Yes.
If that is the theory, that they are going to be, over the winter period, is the most important part for the development of the eggs in the female fish. If that's the theory, I just want your opinion on this, and there is no right or wrong answer. Do you believe that maybe if we need to manage our inventory a little bit tighter than we are now on any given body of water, assuming that the body of water, by the way, has an ice fishery, because some of them don't here in this country, if we needed to tighten up the belt a little bit on the management of our walleye fishery, would the hard water period not be the best time to do it? For the simple reason that it's a critical part of the development of the eggs in the female fish?
Yeah, I would say no. I would say Since the eggs are being developed through the summer, through the fall, they're almost mature, at that fall period. Whether they're harvested in the spring or in the summer or in the fall or in the winter, does it really matter? I mean, it's a dead walleye either way.
That's a good point.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then you look at where the most of the harvest is for walleye fisheries. It's spring harvest is where the most of the harvest happens through the open water season.
Okay.
Around here, our winter harvests can be large component, but often they're the smaller chunk of where the fish leave is through the ice fishing, and that's because the walleye, it's cold water. They're slow down a bit. They eat 20% of what they ate in the summer, in the winter.
Wow.
So they're not eating as much. In the summer they might eat 1 or 2 yearling perch per day, but in the winter it might be 1 or 2 perch every 3 or 4 days. So, I mean, they're slowing down, and that's why we don't catch as many walleye generally in the winter. Loving both the open water and the ice fishing, I think we'd be challenged. Fish managers would be challenged to say, you know what, we're going to close off the winter fishery so that we can save a component of our harvest. Well, you get a lot of people saying, well, why don't you just regulate the summer harvest a little better, right? Why are you going to take this opportunity for us to enjoy the outdoors and the ability to catch a walleye in the winter? So we've never, in Minnesota, and often in the Midwest, you don't see regulating the seasons very much.
We have it here on Rice Lake and the Kawartha area, I think. It's still in place, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
where you can't. They've stopped the ice fishing for walleye here.
No walleye ice fishing.
Yeah.
So
Didn't that system have some overfishing problems in the past?
Well, I mean, that's debatable. The one that sort of led the way was Lake Scugog. In particular, we're talking about walleye. Way overfished because very close to 6 million people. I'm talking half an hour drive for most of them to that lake. So it got bombarded all year long.
Yeah, all summer.
And there was an interesting, there was a point in the decision making where somebody thought, you know what, before we, and it was Lake Scugog is a very popular walleye fishery in this part of the world. And so they at one point said, I think we better consult with the user groups, the stakeholders in this. Let's see if we can get some intelligent information from them and then base that. So they did. They did this wonderful policy. If you get a chance to go and read it somewhere, they did this wonderful, I'm going to say it was like a 10-page survey and questionnaire and put it out to the public via internet and ask them to reply to it and give them some feedback. And the return was so low of people who took the time to give their opinion or at least read it and say, yes, I read it, that M&R just threw their hands in the air and said, you know what? Obviously, nobody cares. Obviously, they don't care whether we close it, don't close it, start, selective harvesting, whatever. They don't care about any of it. So, you know what? We're just going to close it.
Shut her down.
And, of course, when that happened, everybody came out of the woodwork and said, how dare you? How can you do that to me? So I just wanted to tell you that's how this whole thing started with the Kawarthas and Rice Lake and everybody else.
There was never ice fishing allowed.
Fishing.
Yeah,
never,
and then they allowed just pan fishing.
Yeah.
Now
they brought it back as pan fishing only, right? Which what my thought was on that. Then you might as well open it up for walleye because there's going to be so many incidental catches.
Oh yeah,
and killing the fish.
The odd guy throwing one in a bucket and trying to sneak away with it, right?
Yeah.
So.
But anyways, we're going through a lot of that up here now. I'd say in the last 10 years, we're starting to maybe outthink this whole thing in some cases. But anyways,
Paul, you're a biologist, right? A fisheries biologist, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so a lot of times in Canada here, when we're ice fishing, even late fall fishing, I've seen it before, but when we're ice fishing and you're not in a hut and it's like literally minus 15 Celsius out here, ridiculous cold, even colder. You bring a walleye up out of the ice, and almost instantly it starts to freeze. The water on it, the skin, the eyes, they literally get a little skim of ice on them. Obviously, it should be an immediate release. Can a person take a picture of that fish if it's a trophy of a lifetime? How much danger time is there? How much leeway do you have?
I would get it in the water as quick as possible.
That's it, right? Yeah. What happens to them when that, let's say 30 seconds is out of the water? What happens?
Well, your fins, right? I mean, they're very thin. I mean, you could, like a human with frostbite. I mean, you could damage tissue. So, yeah, I think we underestimate the fact that that fish laying on the ice, especially if there's some wind on that,
right? Where
you're going to have some real serious tissue damage to that fish. So, don't risk it. Just put it back in the water.
Perfect. Okay.
And that's what when this whole getting back to the core, Bryce Lake in particular, where they allowed panfish through the ice, but no walleye. I thought that's ridiculous. Because there's going to be incidental catches, a lot of them on that lake.
Yeah.
And people are going to want to say, "Wow, look at my nice walleye," and then you plop them in, it's going to die. In my opinion, but who listens?
I mean, we got to think about ethics here, right? As far as how anglers are behaving themselves, right?
Right.
I mean, I'll avoid places to fish based on what the regulations are, and if I'm gonna, if I have to catch and release, then I'm changing my whole thought process about, oh gosh, I don't even want to fish that because that's not my objective today, or why am I playing with this fish for some purpose of having it at the end of the line and feeling that tug?
Right.
What's wrong with me?
You asked yourself that, have you?
So oftentimes I'm going, okay, I'm fishing for walleyes. I know I'm mentally prepared to deal with what I'm going to catch before I even catch something, to say, oh, if I'm ice fishing and I catch a big fish and I can't actually keep it on that water body, I'm getting it into the water right away. I'm not dinking around with it. I'm not taking a picture. I don't care. I'm just getting it in the water.
Just for the sake of, Yeah.
And then I'm fishing. I'm hoping to catch fish that I actually can keep.
Would you, in your perfect world then, because I've often thought about this, assuming that barotrauma through the ice or open water is about the same, I'm going to make that assumption. Maybe as a scientist you can tell me.
Yeah.
So barotrauma, whether it's through the ice or open water, is exactly the same. So would you in a perfect world, if you were managing a walleye fishery through the ice, would you say that you cannot ice fish, I don't know, over 30 feet of water? You can only ice fish from 30 to 0?
Well, it depends. I mean, if you got regulations where I can keep that fish, I'm going to fish wherever.
Right.
I'm going to keep that fish knowing that, hey, I don't care. It's going to die. I'm taking it home. I'm eating the fish. I'm putting it right in the bucket, and I'm going to spike its head, and I'm going to kill it cleanly.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it home.
Yeah.
But if I'm on that water body and I know that's where the fish are and I can't keep them, then I'm not fishing. I'm making that determination. I just had a conversation with a buddy that lives in Texas. He goes, he had a boat full of people on his boat. They were really getting mahi-mahi really good. And he goes, guys, we've caught plenty of fish. How many more do you need? Both in taking them home and to actually play with them on the end of the line. How much more do you need? And that's a challenge for all of us, right?
Yeah.
I'm catching fish. I'm really getting a lot of fish. I'm getting a lot of walleye hits. I'm bringing them in. Okay, I got what I need for the day. I'm just going to quit fishing. I'm going to go look for loons, or I'm going to go somewhere else and enjoy nature.
Change your species, right? Change your species even at that point.
Yeah, change my species. Yeah. I might fish for northern pike, for example. See if I can, get one or two of those.
Man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Self-discipline, right?
That's
and
a tough
more of us
one.
need to think about that because, hey, fish are our limited resources.
Yeah.
And how are we ethically fishing, right? I mean, we are the referee out on the lake. We judge our own behavior because there's nobody else except the people maybe in your boat or in the ice house with you. But I think we have to be more conscious of what we're doing. And I think we had this conversation last time too. It's like, wait a minute. If we're the referee, we need to have a little self-control on what we're doing out here.
So are you saying, or are you, I don't want to say this wrong. So Ange and I are out and we're having a heyday on, well, we'll use walleye. And they're biting good, and we don't even care. We've kept a couple in the box for eating, but now we just want to catch as many as we can. Wow, this is a riot. This is the best fishing of our lives, Ange. Are we doing damage by doing that and releasing these cats?
Well,
and
depending on the water temperature, depending upon the depths, again, as we mentioned before. I mean, there's a portion of those fish that are going to die. And that's not good because, hey, it's just going to end up at the bottom of the lake. And that's going to serve the resource nothing. Right. I mean, it's getting recycled. But did you need to do that? Well, it was fun.
Wow. Yeah, I guess you have to determine what the hell you're doing out there, right? Why are you out there?
Yeah, it makes a good point on the conditions, too. You know what I mean? If on the perfect day where, these fish, they have their best chance of survival, maybe not so much, but on a hot day, maybe you...
Yeah. In the spring, say the water temperatures are fairly cool. I'm using... crankbait or something. I'm catching fish and I've got pretty good release off of them. I'm not seeing a lot of, mortality, immediate mortality. Then you might feel more comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
But then then I always start asking, why am I playing with this fish?
Yeah.
What purpose is this? It's
true.
I'm playing with somebody else's food. Why am I doing this?
Right. And that's exactly what we fish for, right? Is that what you're describing as why am I doing this? That's what brings us out on the water.
Absolutely.
That whatever the answer to your question is, that's what we do. That's why we're out there. We're out there for that moment, that split second, that hook set. That the fight probably isn't even that big of a deal, but making initial contact with a fish is why we do it. There's something that happens at that moment that's undescribable, and it has nothing to do with consumption. I think so,
right? But I think it's also very addictive. And
very much so. Yes.
And I think we need to broaden our horizons, and I've done that by grandkids in the boat, and now the experience is totally different. Or bring them into the ice house, right? Now they're just interested, for example, when we're ice fishing, some of the kids are just interested in watching the camera, right? They see a perch. That's their excitement. That's their connection back to nature. It's not having that tug on the end of the line and bringing it in for them. That's not exciting. Often, though, they'll want to see the fish, touch the fish. And I think we have to get away from that addiction of that tug on the line and bringing it in that satisfaction of catching that fish.
I'm going to fish jail because I'm a lost cause. Okay, that's it for me.
You're not.
I cannot be converted.
You will not be rehabbed.
I don't think I can. I mean, you can try, and I'll go through the process. I'll try if somebody's going to watch me 24/7. But
it's like me deer hunting. I love to kill deer. I mean, because I eat deer all the time, right? It's like, but how many do I need to kill?
Right.
And then with deer, it's okay. I got to butcher that thing up tonight. But fish, it's easier. So the addiction of the bloodlust for deer is a little bit offset by the fact that, hey, that killing that deer means real work for me, and then I have to find somebody else that wants some deer meat.
Yeah.
My extended family. And
maybe
I can do that, and I enjoy doing it. But at the same time, is how much do I need? How much does my family need? And that's, I think, the challenge of fisheries management.
Right.
Is people want a lot of different things. I want to go out and catch this trophy fish, as you had mentioned earlier. and have those experiences. I want to go out to this other kind of lake that, they're managing for, surplus production. And I'm good keepers for meals. And how do we make sure in a very crowded world that we can pull this off? And part of that depends on us as anglers to be a little bit more self-disciplined in what we're doing out there.
It's funny, because we made that quantum leap years ago in the 60s and 70s, where we started actually thinking about conservation, and we said, well, I think if we don't keep all the fish that we catch and we release them back into the water, everything is going to be okay. And so then we became more prolific at catching them. Why? Because we had a lot more practice now, because we're catching 20, 30, 50, 100 fish a day. We're kind of cluing in on what the hell's going on out there, right? So we became really good at it. And when we were challenged by folks on the other side, we'd say, whoa, we're releasing everything. What are you talking about? All those fish are back in the water. And now I'm listening to you, and it sounds like we need to kind of rethink this thing and maybe turn it upside down.
Keep your 4 and then go home.
Keep your fish. Keep your 4 fish or 6 fish, whatever it is. But at the end of that, you call it a day. That's what I'm hearing.
It's like it's like walleye. It's like walleye has that optimal forage theory, right? We should be the same way. It's like, let's go out, get our fish, with the least amount of energy expended, and be happy with that. So it's a sport too, right? It's
right. That's
fishing's a sport. I look at my hunting sport. So I'm a bow hunter. I had a recurve in the 60s, hunted compound bows when they came out. And then I stopped. I go, I want to shoot with my finger. I don't want these new compound bows. You got to have a release and all this stuff. It's just too much technical stuff. Well, now in Minnesota, you can shoot crossbow, and that's archery.
Yeah, here too. Here too, and it's a strange one.
Wait a minute, we picked up bow and arrow because we wanted a fair chase.
Right.
And now we're right back to having something as lethal as a rifle or a shotgun.
Yeah.
And then we did the same thing with muzzleloader. I got a muzzleloader. It's a traditional old thing, but now you got these highly sophisticated muzzleloading guns that shoot better or as good as a slug rifle or a slug shotgun or even some of the rifles. And you're going, wait a minute, why do we keep falling into this trap? And now with fishing, look at the technology of sonar.
Oh my God.
And it's just starting. The Navy has developed all this sonar that we're just, that's starting to creep into the commercial side of things for regular anglers. Yeah. And 10 years, we're going to have even more advanced sonar. Yep. And we're going to go, oh, this is making fishing different. It's probably increasing our catch rates. I mean, you look at the kids that are fishing for the high school leagues here in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
The young kids, they're using that technology. They're very competitive, and they catch a lot of fish.
Yep.
And, I look at that and go, wow, that's, what are we doing here? We're making it easier and easier to catch fish, and we're learning more and more about fish, right? We're all studying fish, learning their behaviors.
Right.
And the sport is changed by that.
I think that's just natural progression, though, isn't it? Like if you were
not
to
when
take
you're dealing with a living organism.
No, I know, but we're not thinking that. But if you take on golf, for instance, you can stay crappy if you want, but God, I want to get better at that. I'm going to take lessons. I'm going to buy better clubs. I'm going to buy them more, and they're going to videotape everything we do. I think we try to get better. If you get into a hobby, beyond a hobby, let's say, you try to get better at it and better. You want to be really good at it. So I think it's just a natural thing for a human to do. To be honest,
but fishing is a regulated sport. Right. Just as baseball is a regulated sport, they change the rules every once in a while. Hey, you know what? We're going to have a clock now that you have to pitch quicker. Right. We're going to change the sport.
Right.
Yep.
But the problem with sports as regulated by government agencies is they're too dependent on what the industry or what most of the anglers want. So we got these confounding rules that are hard to understand. just look at the rules on terminal tackle and Minnesota regulation book. It's a whole page on what defines terminal tackle. So these different kinds of things. Well, if we were serious about regulating the sport such that we included fair chase, we might have a whole different set of rules, wouldn't we? And how would you set those rules? Right now, it's, somebody wants to shoot with a crossbow. Well, the legislator changed the rule, and pretty soon it's done. And I don't know. Maybe we need to rethink how we regulate the fishing.
Is Minnesota one of those states? I know it's in the states only, where you can cut a hole in the ice and spear pike. Is that
Yeah, you can do that. Dark house spearing. Yep.
So what do you think of that one? Like, if that's whether we're talking on this, like, where do you draw the line? What do you think of that one?
Well, I think it's a great sport.
It's a difference of
hand.
It's a difference of opinion.
Of course.
Right?
Some people say, hey, they're taking trophy pike out when it's not. I'd rather catch them in the summer or whatever, right?
Right.
So you get them versus us.
It's intriguing to watch. I'll tell you that. I've watched some YouTube stuff, and it's crazy watching this.
We have I have an old friend, and she's been on the program several times, Catherine Maroon.
Yep.
And she's taken her fishing to a whole different level, and that is totally hookless. Now she's a fly fishing dude.
He's laughing. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, but she's into fly fishing. So for her, it's all about making that perfect connection with nature,
the
and
art of
getting your fly just to act in a certain way to fool the fish, and then that second that it works, it all comes together. The explosive action. And no harm, no foul. Everybody goes back about their way, happy. And this is her, the way she portrays fishing. And she's practicing, and not only practicing, but preaching that as well.
Is this a growing fishing trend, you think?
Well, she makes it sound
there's
like
one
it
person
is.
that's doing it. I don't know the rest.
Yeah, I think there's more of it than we know. And it's happening in the fly
nowadays.
fishing
Everybody's complaining about the way you're treating things. The poor fish. Now you're teasing them with food. They're going to have to change their whole. Oh my God! You can't do that.
No, but the point is,
look at the energy that trout is expended to get to that fly that has no hook on it.
He's waited all day for that striking. He gives a couple pulls and forget this shit. I don't like this anymore. That's it. I'm out. Poor guy.
You know what? Dean is going to be awfully pissed off at us because he had a whole
we gotta
thing
have a couple
about,
more though. Can we do? We got time for one or two more?
Sure. Why not?
So, okay. Here's one that it's confused me. There's a blanket of snow on the ice. Okay, so it's completely, I'm assuming, is it completely dark under the ice, as in close to nighttime kind of visibility?
If you've got a heavy, thick ice with a very heavy snow pack on it, it's very dark. Okay,
so number one, do walleye? Walleye will probably be the best predator under that darkness, I'm assuming. Do they know the difference between day and night? Or do they have any, does it mean anything to them? You know what I mean?
I think still they know the difference between day and night, especially if it's a clear water system.
Right.
Well, maybe if it's a dark water system where the water's, bog brown and you've got both thick ice and a heavy snowpack on it, maybe it's just dark all the time. It could be really bad.
So they don't care. What about?
But they've got so sensitive eyes. I think they probably detect the difference between night and day still, though.
So that's what I was going to say. Is there for our anglers listening here? It's so dark under there. While I have good eyes, is there lure colors, etc., that would work better under the ice conditions? Does glow work better? Does rattles work better, etc.?
Yeah, I think both of those probably do better, right? Some sound, some glow. It's something to attract the walleye's eye, right? To see it in those low light conditions, I think still have some value.
Boy, it does. I'm listening to you two guys. It doesn't take long to regress. We were just talking about this angelic new possible way of connecting with nature with no hooks and, perfectly naturally placed fly and all this stuff. And now, in a flash of an eye, he wants to know what color will make him bite my hook for.
I want Catherine Maroon to go out in Lake Winnipeg at 40 below zero with a wind chill factor of even colder. And I want her to drop a hookless jig down there and try and see some walleye coming close.
No, I don't think ice fishing will ever work without a hook on it.
Exactly.
You said something earlier on, Paul, about the fact that only 20% of the time during the winter period are these walleye apt to actually start eating or foraging, or I don't know what you would call it. What determines that? Because now with cameras, we see fish that are just hunkered down on the bottom and they're just not doing nothing. And sometimes you can drop your favorite color jig and right on their nose and they still won't bite. What is determining that 20% for them?
Yeah, so they're consuming 20% less than they were in the summer and the winter. And the reason why is it's cold. Their whole metabolism slows down.
Right.
The digestion of that prey in their stomach slows down. Everything's slowing down. So that they just don't have the energy to do it.
Yeah.
So they're conserving their energy through the winter. They're eating, but not substantially less, but they're still consuming, and oftentimes that's very might be an hour before dusk or something, and that's it.
Right.
So really. They're really different behavior compared to in the spring or in the fall.
But that hour before dusk, Paul, that hour before dusk, that hour before dusk, we've seen it many times here in Ontario, at least ice fishing, where they go gangbusters. And maybe even more than one day in a row, maybe 2 or 3 days in a row, or if you follow the pack of fish around, you'll get it every night. So they're not conserving energy at that time. They're going like crazy. You're getting these solid bites. They're fighting hard, et cetera, et cetera. Are they saving their energy all day just for that one little bite of that day?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think they're trying to stay warm, right with winter conditions. Where do you think a walleye is going to be at 1 degree Celsius water temperature or at 4 degrees water, centigrade water?
Yeah,
they're going to be in the warmer water. Well, where's that warm water in the winter? Well, it's right on the bottom in a deep water lake, because the molecular structure of water it's densest at 4 degrees C.
Okay.
So that 4 degrees C water is at the bottom. And if you're a walleye going, I'm looking for just warm water, folks.
But
I'm going to be in that 4C water.
You're blowing my mind here, because I was taught at a very early age that
by Sister Roselia,
Sister Mary Roselia,
okay,
that fish don't feel temperature. They don't know cold from warm to hot to apparently.
Don't trust a nun on that.
Woo! Great answer, Paul.
So in fact, they do feel the temperature change.
Well, I've seen on largemouth bass for sure in the fall when the water's in the 50s and even 40s, they will hover towards rocks. And then those rocks are absorbing the heat, and they're sitting on that rock, getting that little bit extra. So
but I got to change my whole speech on this whole thing now, because I was always saying that they don't feel the temperature change like we do. Don't worry about a cold front. Cold fronts are just for sissies because the fish don't feel that.
But that cold front's different than water temperature, right?
Go ahead.
They're living in that water. They're feeling it all the time.
Yeah.
And they're going to seek temperature that best suits them. They're going to look for oxygen levels that are sufficient. And they're going to look for light. With walleye, they're going to avoid high light conditions, and they're going to go to the bottom. So those big three things: water temperature, light, and oxygen, that determines a lot of cases where a walleye is going to be.
I had no idea that water was warmer on the bottom.
Forage, food, right? Food.
Yeah, of course. So, food. Yeah, that's the big one. I assume.
Wow, that whole thing just blew my mind now.
I love the fact that it's 4 degrees, or it's a little warmer on the bottom. I had no idea. Dean, did you know that?
I didn't know either.
Oh wow, no either. Like Holy mackerel.
That's 3 of us because I don't think maybe Ann's knew. He said, looks like
I
he
knew
played-
that there was a warmer band of water down below. So
Okay.
I did know
Yeah,
that. But
see,
what I
in the
did not
winter,
know.
they call it inverse stratification. So the warm water's on the bottom in the winter, and the cold water's on the top near the ice.
Right.
But in the summer, it's just the reverse.
Right.
What I did not know was about them feeling a difference in temperature. I did not know that.
Yeah, blame the nun.
The damn nuns.
Blame the nun.
Okay, that or it. We're
Paul,
going to be.
that was good. That
Paul,
was-
as usual, we went completely offline here, but we'll get.
I think it's good info. I think people will like it.
I think next time on, we need to pick up the script and say, "Hello, Paul. Today, I would like to ask you," and then we'll have none of this nonsense about with the
About
direction
nuns
that
and
we
fishing.
went. Exactly, or spearfishing pike. Oh my God!
I apologize for getting off track. I have a tendency to do that.
We get you off track, Paul. We just say the questions and you go. That's it. So we're starting it. No problem.
Anyways, my friend, thank you very much for joining us once again. All the best to you. How's the book doing, by the way?
It's doing excellent. The University of Minnesota Press is very excited how many books they've sold. So
How
awesome.
can folks
And
get their
I'm
hands on it?
What's that?
How can people get their hands on it? How can they buy that?
You can go to Amazon. You can go to the University of Minnesota Press's website. They've got a secure site. You can go to your local library and borrow a book and read it. So it's out there.
It's called A Beautiful Fish of the Dark.
Walleye, a beautiful fish of the
Well,
dark.
no,
I don't
it wouldn't.
put
It
that
wasn't
in
going to be sunfish.
Well,
Talking
you
why
might
talking
want to title,
walleye.
you know, you could say beautiful car of the garage, but you say your Camaro, 69 Camaro. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's what I deal with every day, Paul.
Every day.
All he
That's
wants
why
to
we
do.
never get to the end of the questions.
That's right.
That's right, Paul.
All he wants to do is dangle his line and play with fish all day long.
Hit him hard, crack him.
Thank you, my friend. We will talk to you very soon. All the best to you.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, Paul Radomski. What a wonderful
He's great.
gentleman.
He's great.
aside from
I
the
love his
fact
attitude.
that he's a fisheries biologist, aside from the fact that he's worked in the field most of his life and he's a great author and very articulate in the way he lays it all out. He's just a great guy to talk to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. And he gets the whole catch and keep, and then he gets catch and release, because he's a hunter too, so he knows all about harvesting, and so he sees all sides of it.
I was a little surprised at the pike spearing through the ice, though. I have to be honest with you.
Yeah. He said it was a great sport. So I was too. I thought after we're just talking about all this management and stuff, and we should slow down on things.
I guess carp and shallows with bow and arrow would probably be okay.
He'd be good with it. I'll bet you he would. Yeah.
Anyways, it doesn't really matter. To each his own, as they say.
Of course. They spear sturgeon through the ice down there. I think it's maybe in Wisconsin. Yeah, there's a state where there's an actual sturgeon fishery through the ice with spears. There's a number, there's a quota. You have to call in as soon as you get one. It's like our tuna out in the East Coast. You have to phone it in and all that. And it usually lasts about a day. And they have a quota. I think it's around a day-ish or more, not much more.
Wow.
And it's a big thing. I think it's Wisconsin, maybe. I don't know, Dean. You know that one? You've heard of it.
Yeah, I think it is Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dean's very quiet in the latter half of the show.
He missed you last week.
There is that too, but I think he just doesn't want to put the buttons when Paul's on. I think he's afraid.
Oh, the sound effects.
Yeah.
You see, when we get so into this that we don't really even notice the sound effects are gone, but you did, obviously.
Anyways, don't forget that.
That's a bunch of bullshit.
And what we talked about earlier
That's
on
a
in the
bunch of
show.
bullshit.
That's right. Thank you very much for getting back to normal. I want to be on behalf of the entire team. I want to thank everybody for joining. By the way, don't forget the contest, fishingcanada.com.
Come on now.
Woo!
And anything else that you can hook up.
How about our new episodes that are rolling out as we speak on YouTube and on television? So, we got, and it's looking good. I
love the new show.
Oh, my God.
Love the
looking
new
really
show.
good.
That are it, folks. On behalf of the entire team, Peter Bowman of Vova over there, the man behind the wonderful visual aspect of this. And look at this, Nikki V.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Come
Actually
on
in his
now.
chair. Back from vacation.
Oh, my.
And, of course, Dean Thompson, who was very quiet the latter half of the show.
Come on
but that's
now.
okay.
Dean Thompson, you call him.
Thompson.
That's my
Thompson
buddy,
doesn't matter.
Napanee.
Dean Thompson.
That's
How is
Dean?
Dean?
Dean's doing good.
I haven't talked to him.
I love it. I'll tell you a Dean story after this is over
All right.
because it's good. It's just incriminating a little bit to Dean.
There's
but
a bunch of bullshit.
You'll like it. You'll like it.
Dean Taylor, I'm H.
Come on,
Viola. Thanks, folks. We'll catch you next time.